probably the majority are not traditional. So.
But still traditional.
Yeah, traditional. Go down, prayers up, we still got it.
And also just with the building capacity thing too is that before COVID we have some programs like the American Indian Science Scholars Program in Milwaukee, but we wanted to create some similar experiences for Native students in Michigan and Minnesota. We were starting to have inroads with University of Minnesota Duluth, and we actually got like a prototype of that, and then just COVID just happened. We're trying to reestablish connections with people and so to make these things happen. And we think that NMU is just perfectly located for the area and many tribal communities around it and all that to hopefully be able to do something like that to try to get more that I don't know the word pipeline, I don't know, but
we need to like indigenize a term for pipeline because I know what you mean. A river, streamline. There you go. Funnel. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Trout line. I love that. Trout line. Okay, we're gonna coin that today.
Or the stream to get the stream started.
Right.
there you go. Yeah.
I always look at it as I'm walking the good trail today.
Yeah.
Creating that new trail of communication.
Well, that's like when we were starting the reach out process. You start the emails and the phone calls, and Amber so graciously responded back, and I was like, "Oh, this is the greatest day of my life." I was on a high for like 3 days after it, and then we had a meeting with her 2 weeks ago, and it was. She said it perfectly. It's good medicine for the soul, and that's what we want. We want everybody to feel like what we're doing is good medicine for their souls, and that we're bringing them back around. We want you to feel complete. We want that circle to be there, all 4 parts to be fully functioning and at the highest possibility. If we can help with that, great. And if we can't, we're gonna find a way to get you to where you're gonna get that fulfillment that you need. So.
I think that are we upping the in the next
I mentioned that.
cycle? You did mention that.
Yeah. So we're on the 15 for undergrad and 18 for graduate. So yeah, that's.
I might have to go to school.
Yeah. So do you have any questions about the program or how to enroll in it and anything like that? Answered all that. Like I said, it's a pretty simple process. It's in the scribe there, but when we ask for writing samples and things like that, we don't need like your whole pieces, your pages. So just make sure that you can write a paper.
Right. Yeah, that came up because we had
Yeah.
mentors working with students, and they were trying to help them do things, and they found out that some students were really struggling with being able to write. Not write in general, but like write a paper and kind of thoroughly complete it. So we were actually would help, if there were students who had struggled in that capacity, we were, getting them assistance to, or even helping ourselves, because we've done that too when we do applications or we have a research project, we review a lot of those. So that was something too and that's where that came from, is that we're asking for that writing sample, ensuring that if they need help in that area that we can provide that.
Most students just put in some paper that just they worked last year or
right.
semester. It's not like you have to write something for us. It's just
Right.
we want something that you written in the last year or so.
Could you share with us, now that I have us back up and
Oh.
it turns out you just have to turn the thing off and then turn it back on.
Oh,
The magic reset. The magic reset. Yeah, good.
I don't know what's going on. It's affecting my speakers and wasn't letting me record my audio. Now,
Okay.
could you
walk us through the application process a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so, application process we have, I'm gonna just highlight some of the things that we have here. So we go to the research internship for Native American college students. There's the flyer. So we have one of those, and just kind of has our contact information. So if anything else, just get our email or number, and we can help you with that. But the first step would be to fill out an application, and again, you put in, general information, your contact information, affiliation. Again, we don't ask for proof of enrollment. It's just if you are, fine. If you're a descendant, fine. If you just say you're Native American, fine. And then there are some deliverables here that we want you to check, at least a couple, to make a presentation, like we said, for our CSAC committee, or it could be at if it's for instance, for the students that are not in the summer, they could do one for just our GLTC health or tribal health directors, or at a conference, annual conference. Or you can present some of our high school opportunities, like I mentioned, the Indigenous Health and Wellness Day, which we do with UW-Madison in April, or the American Indian Science Scholars 10-day camp that I referred to in Milwaukee. It doesn't have to be in presence. You can do it virtually as well. And then we want a letter of interest. Some of the things that you think, why would you want to do research? What can you bring to your community? What areas you may need support. Some students we have provided a laptop or something like that for the period of the research internship, and so we need to know if there's some needs there, or some testing equipment, depending on your internship or your research that you're doing. If you have any awards or recognition, put it in there. It's always helpful. 2 academic references, a copy of your cumulative GPA. And again, I think it could be up to a year old. It doesn't have to be the very latest one. And then academic writing, such as an essay or report. If you want to initiate, again, there is a path. If you want to start a brand new internship, you just have to provide a little more information for us, so we can, you still have to have a mentor. So you can't just do it on your own. That's one requirement. We have to have a mentor to kind of oversee and supervise, or at least be helpful for the student. We have students that are super independent, that the mentor is just there as a resource. They're not really looking over their shoulder every day, but it's good to have somebody that they can bounce off ideas and things like that. So,
and we have helped students find mentors before.
Right.
We can have a student who's really interested in something, but if they're not, I mean, I know when I was in college, it was like, I never went to the Native American Center. I was like, so I just, it took me a while, but, so that if they're just not quite outgoing enough yet to speak up for themselves at 18, not many people are, but that we can try to assist them and try to find and make some inroads, or if they want to work in the community instead of looking at, at a university, that we can help make those connections, because, they're sharp people. So
your mentors does not necessarily have to come from NARC.
No.
They can be from the center, or from psychology or sociology,
right. You
depending
can,
on where you're.
if you've been working with somebody, you're like, hey, we should apply. Would you be my mentor in this? Then you can apply, and you already have a mentor set. Or there's times too when we have a mentor who's like, I have this really great project. Is there any students? So if a student comes in without a mentor, then we try to make that work, and so there's multiple ways we try to make it so that it may not be their field of interest at first, but we found that many times, like, man, that was really neat, and glad I got to experience that, even though it wasn't on the top of my list of what I thought I wanted to do. They, are kind of opening their eyes to some possibilities. So.
Yeah, there is some research going on here, and there are some mentors that already have talked to that have projects that could, might not be your field of study, but they definitely have some needs or help, and can give you that experience of research of something else. And then just the submission is, we prefer email. We have fax in here because I think Amy's been there for long enough that fax was a thing back then.
It's not as easy to scan stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Or, back then it wasn't as easy to scan stuff.
But email is probably good.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't seen a regular mail one, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's possible too.
Yeah.
And like Amy said, if you would become a temporary seasonal employee of Great Lakes Intertribal Council, so we need a W-9 form and other paperwork, just like getting any other job. And that's so we can pay you on a bi-weekly basis and all of that. So you'd be entering your hours in a HR software, Paylocity, and we just want you to have a copy of those hours to your mentor. So if it happens frequent enough that we can get a hold of them because they're in the middle of testing or they're going on vacation or whatever, we just want to be able to pay you. And so we need to, if you didn't put it in Paylocity, we need to be able to ask somebody else to tell us that you had hours. And so that's just a simple requirement. So that's really it. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
I've seen on there also the W-9 are subject to a background check and a drug test.
Yes.
Is that typical, and is there anything that automatically
If
qualifies for
it's
that
not,
criminal background?
no, so, well, Amy can tell you a little bit more, but it depends on the research. If you're gonna be working with kids, if you're gonna be working with elders, if you're gonna be in something that we need to have a background check for, then that's gonna be a requirement. If it's something that you're doing paper research, probably not, so it just kind of depends on the project. Yeah.
And we've never drug tested any of our students up till now. That's a condition of employment at Great Lakes generally. So we had to kind of back off of that for our students. First of all, just time constraints, because if we have a student that's working down in Milwaukee, to get them to come up to Wacatando, do a drug test, do all these things. So that just we got a pass on our students having to be drug tested. The only thing I can imagine that would ever come up is if because the students are covered under like our liability insurance, there was an accident, or if there was, in any of us employees, the same thing would happen. If we were driving and we were in a car accident, they're going to want us to do a drug test, or alcohol, whatever screening. So that, but we've never done a pre-employment drug test on a student. So, and that's, yeah, and the background check is for, vulnerable populations of whether it's elders or, under 18, children. I've not seen,
we don't do them that often, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't do them that often, but, when we've had some things come up, it's either whether it's like a violent crime, or whether it's, if someone's got stopped speeding, of course, that's not gonna be an issue, but, we just kind of look at time frame and kind of like evaluate, and HR has a final call on that. We don't, but like whether that, it's deemed, too recent, or, it's in dealing with a population. So, and the process that happens once we get our applications in, and once we get everything in, because people send pieces of this and that, and they don't ever come to us usually as all done. But we have our advisory committee, so we'll send these things out to different people, and they'll take a look at them too, because then they can pose a question like, is this scientifically rigorous, or and it's not like they're shooting anything down. It's more like, well, maybe you could ask this question as part of your research, and giving good feedback, not just like, oh, this isn't science, or this isn't research, or this is, we're not about that. So, but they will say, you could add this to that, or think about this in a different way, and give constructive feedback so that they can make their research better. And then then we'll go through and approve them, and
yeah, the current
handle the
cycle,
paperwork and stuff.
you can apply, I forgot to mention, you can apply for the fall of this year, which is now, or summer of next year. So we probably won't start some in the middle of winter, but if somebody had that situation, we probably could be flexible, and we will consider it for sure. And anything else about the application? So yeah, we'll just the process, you get us an application, and then we'll make sure to see what pieces are there, and if anything's missing, I would just Tara or I or Amy would contact you and say, hey, we're missing a transcript, or it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. We really try to make it as painless as possible. And probably the most pain would be when you sit down with the HR person, you have to sign a bunch of things. But that's the same as getting any job. So it's, yeah. And any other questions with the application? Okay. Oh, one other piece is once we have all the pieces and we have, we'll ask you things that are not in the application process because we want to make sure a lot of people apply and they don't have a mentor yet. So once you have a mentor, once you have a project, we want to have you and your mentor sit down and write a project abstract and to tell us, and then 3 objectives that you want to accomplish with your internship. So that's another piece that would be afterwards. And then, and again, if you're looking for a mentor, we can, in the meantime, we'll work with you to try to find a project for you if you don't have one. So and then the last project thing would be a contract where out of that abstract, we just kind of get those objectives and say, okay, well, these are the things that you're going to do. And we call it a contract, but it's just like a learning contract, just saying this is what you're going to do. And
so that everyone knows what their responsibilities are, so that they understand like that we expect them to present at the end, or that they'll maintain contact with their mentors and those kinds of things. It's not that, you know.
right,
We're going to kick you out if you don't do this thing by this day.
It's not a legally binding contract.
We have our legal counsel brought up.
Yeah, so that's basically it.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. And yeah, so that's what it is, and we have the samples there. I don't know. Do we try to?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
got to be a research assistant for the Family Circles project, cultural intervention aimed at AODA, alcohol and other drug prevention, try to figure out creative ways to evaluate its effectiveness. GLNARCH has helped me greatly throughout my education in that it gave me a firsthand experience in dealing with research. I had a little bit of experience in my academic classes, but giving me that real world work experience, literature review and evaluation and assessment, I think it just complemented my academic studies wonderfully. Influenced my professional development by, again, giving me that exposure to and practice in conducting literature reviews, and then taking it beyond the theoretical into the application, applying the research to program development, and then how to evaluate their effectiveness. It kind of just gave me that first-hand experience that's just gonna, I think, set me up for success later in my career. I enjoyed the mentorship component, gave me that first-hand experience, and then to me, it was like job shadowing. I was able to have that person that I could go to for questions, their experience, their expertise, and just their guidance. Sometimes when I get stressed out or overwhelmed with the work, or having some troubles making connections with certain people or agencies, it was good to talk with that through my mentor and just kind of tap into his experience, de-stress me and calm me down and help me to kind of stay focused on the task at hand. It's a great opportunity. You know, I would encourage any students that's interested in the health or research related fields to kind of take advantage of that program. It helped me immensely. Azell, the student development coordinator, you know, the resources he offers and the support, that's great. Professional development, you guys offer opportunities to go to conferences and trainings and things like that, and to enhance our understanding, give us a little bit more knowledge on practices that is being done within the field of your choice. And yeah, that mentorship with people, just the connection you guys have with agencies in the field.
I'm gonna play that, but that's the next part is just a community wellness survey thing that we were doing, and so it's an interview with an elder, and so I don't know if we're gonna play that right now, but do you want to try, Janelle? Okay.
Uju Kiniwea Ogimakwe Nindish Nakas. Hello, my name is Janelle. and I'm an enrolled member of Bad River Band Ojibwe. I am a recent graduate from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I just defended my PhD last month, so August 2020. I just graduated with my PhD in the nursing program. I'm also a GLNARCH intern from this past summer. So what I did this summer through the GLNARCH internship program was it allowed me to have the time to analyze the data that I collected this past year while I was a fourth-year PhD student. My dissertation study was titled Intimate Partner Violence Against Urban American Indian Women, a Continuation of Colonial Injustice. So this was a qualitative study in which I really focused on the individual lived experiences of intimate partner violence, looking specifically at American Indian women who are living in the Milwaukee and Green Bay areas. So the purpose of that was just to get a better understanding of what our women are going through, the kinds of challenges that they may be having, the types of barriers that exist that are preventing some of our sisters from seeking the help that they deserve. So the data that I collected was very valuable in getting a better understanding of some of the tensions that are still occurring in our communities between American Indians and law enforcement, some of the experiences that our women are having with healthcare providers, allied healthcare professionals, social service agencies, and other types of support agencies like shelters, and other types of community agencies. So really, we're being able to analyze this data, write it up, and be able to defend my dissertation this summer allowed me to be able to finish my program on time, as well as to collect the data that or analyze the data that I collected and really get this information out to the tribes and community agencies where we can try to break down some of these barriers and really increase care levels, or increase the care that we are able to provide our sisters in the community. So I just wanted to be able to share that about myself and to thank the Great Lakes Intertribal Council for allowing me the opportunity to be able to spend time finishing my study and being able to get the data analyzed and getting written up. So thank you.
Yeah, so in her case, she already had, like she said, an ongoing thing, and we just helped her finish the work that she had started the year before. So that was an ongoing project, that very important work. So yeah. And if you want to look at her, that was kind of like in the middle or at the beginning of her. If you want to see her conclusion, it's in the final presentations. So she has like a 10-minute talk about what she accomplished and all that. So that's all in our YouTube page. I'm not going to play them, but I'm just going to show you the link. So we have here all the different interns that graduated that year. Let's see, where's hers?
Right there on the bottom.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought hers was in there somewhere, but
Is Jennifer Brown's?
no, it was Janelle. See, I know hers is in there somewhere. But anyways, it's in there. But yeah, trust me. Maybe it's in well, I'll have to relink it, I guess. But anyways, that's yeah, so that's more resources in the website. So that's all that was about. And yeah, with the capacity building in the website, you'll see there that we're planning a nation. Well, it's a summit on
travel environmental health.
travel environmental health that would be hopefully happening.
Hopefully next year.
Hopefully next year. It's been postponed since.
Yeah.
It comes out to.
2020, but yeah. So we've been pushing it off and pushing it off. And
We had a date, we had a location, we had food
Yeah,
arranged, and then.
shut down.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. COVID, yeah.
What else?
Yeah. And it was the first time that it would have been on a reservation because this was kind of came through the National Institutes of Environmental Health Studies, the NIH. And so they'd have it on different campuses, but like, no, we need to have it, you know, feeding a tribal community and benefiting them. So we had it all set and ready to go. And we were, rather than having it be, like, I think, I can't remember how they initially had theirs set up. I'm like, no, let's make it the 4 seasons. And as things change, we're going to have the parts of the conference be seasonal, you know, and how we do things, not how they do things. So, and that was going to be pretty cool, but we're still going to do it, just so we aren't quite sure yet.
We'll still have those.
Just adding a little extra spice.
Yeah. And then we're like, oh, we're being, and we realized we were being Anishinaabe centric, so like we have to do some of other stuff. We need to do some other stuff. So we'll have to work on that, but
Yeah.
like we can't. Not all of us are wonderfully Ojibwe, but not.
Come on now, you gotta have a council. You gotta have a council of the
I had some Lakota friends, and we tease each other all the time because, you know, where we are, that there was a lot of Dakotas. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that whole thing, and they're like, we're coming to get our land back. And, you know, we joke a lot about, you know, like, we kicked you out of here once, and you do it back, you know, and stuff like that. So we always have a good time with that. So.
Growing up, I always just said, oh, was your grandmother a great Cherokee princess?
No.
And I was like this. I don't know, maybe.
It's just some of them are princess too. But yeah, yes. So yeah, we'll have that coming up on the horizon, hopefully. So.
Yeah, and there's some other publications and there are
Mhm.
things to look at and
Yeah.
how to contact us and other projects, various projects that we do. But yeah, that's in a nutshell what our program does. More questions, but we'd love to have more students from NMU out there for sure, or anywhere that you're working in the future. And yeah.
And we don't mind ever coming up. So if there's something going on and you want us to come
Oh my God, this chair's really tough.
hang out for the day or be a part of something that you guys have going on, please do not hesitate, because we are more than happy to jump in the car and come on up for the day, or even a couple days, you know, for whatever is going on. This is this is what we're here for.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know I've said that a couple times, but
Yeah, it's true. We had students in a couple years ago in northern Michigan, and their computer died, and so we just like bought one within a couple days and drove it off there to them. And so we'll do whatever we can.
So, and I had copies and I forgot them in the car, but this was something that we presented to our advisory committee as well.
You might download it.
Oh, but it's just kind of we threw it like, you know, we're required to do evaluation up one way and down the other and all this other stuff. But we finally were able to get our evaluator put together this dashboard of kind of like how our internships have been and how they've, you know, over the past. And so it's some interesting information just to kind of see like how things are have come. And I think he went back to for this past 7 years, I think was the I'm not sure why that's not.
It's gonna open.
Try to hit on
PowerPoint.
CSAC.
It's gonna open.
Further to the left where it's CSAC, sometimes you.
Oh, further over, you mean?
Yeah. Enough.
I don't know.
I think it just downloads a PowerPoint. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Computer
see
has
it.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
because we're in screen sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. No, no, it's fine. But just no. One more time. When you have a moment and you're very bored, feel free to go look. Don't worry about it. Oh, there it goes. Screen sharing scares me.
It
so.
does, and it scares me too sometimes, as we can see, so I think you should be okay with
Oh, and this is the older one, I think, too, because we have a different logo on there. Yeah, this is an older one. But anyway, it's just kind of giving some information about like who we've worked with and who, just different statistics and stuff, that's all. So it's not, I just thought it was interesting because when you read a report, it's one thing, but when you see it in front of you and like laid out in this way, just kind of, showing too that we've been around for a bit.
Give satisfaction.
What's that? Yeah, fax it. Yeah.
Give satisfaction.
Oh, that's, okay, yeah. So anyway, there's this other stuff on here that we've worked on that
That
we've.
top one, Amy, the Indigenous Health and Wellness Day student panel, that's a video recording for the program that we do for middle schoolers and freshmen in high school at UW-Madison. So that's the students, native students that spoke to they did a recording, obviously during COVID, if they weren't there in person, but that's another opportunity to kind of help out with the next generation.
Yeah.
Talk about your experience that, what it takes to get to where you are. Because it would be really inspiring for people that don't have any idea how to get to where you are. That's really valuable for us.
And that's a huge thing nowadays, we're some generation, we're working on getting everybody to where I don't know where we think they need to be, but where our ancestors wanted us to be at some point in time, so that the seventh generation work that, is really starting to come out within the last couple of years is, that's part of that. That's what we're all reaching for at the end of the day.
Anyway, I'll
Well,
do
and
that.
the nice thing about ours is too that Great Lakes and Tribal Council houses us, and we do a lot of our own stuff, but we also have those connections inside with our epidemiology, with our elders program, with tribal prep, sexual health, things along those lines. So if there's a student that needs a little extra something that we can't provide them, it's all housed there, it's all there at the end of the day, so we can always find the answer at some point.
And we've been working with QNLB, Mills, Michigan Tech, even some more people at Michigan Tech are like, yeah, it'd be really great if, and then use a place to have if they're trying to get, all the different tribal people from, Sioux, St. Marie, and, and if we have programming that can be done and whatnot. So definitely, thinking along those lines of making that happen.
Yeah, I was just looking at the brochure here that you all provided, and I see this American Indian Science Scholars Program. Is there an opportunity for you all to partner with NMU? I know we had already talked about possibly having an event where you guys see all your students up here that are interested, doing maybe a tour with forensic anthropology lab and things like that.
Absolutely.
Was there opportunities for us to?
Yeah, because even at Michigan Tech, Val Daniel, she's like, yeah, that's the best place. It's so central. We have all the different communities around, and definitely are looking for that type of trying to get students on campus and doing something, even if it's, the UW Milwaukee one is 10 days. It doesn't have to be something like that. It'd be great if we could do that, but and have them staying on campus. But if it was even just day trips for a couple of days or something, it's
so
a big opportunity.
I think when you say like students, when we really recruit from the communities that would be closer to here, because we do recruitment and we have actually flown students to the 10-day camp when it was in person from Central Michigan down to Milwaukee. But even with that, some students might be hesitant to go for so far,
so long.
But if there was something closer, we could recruit students from the closer communities, and then it might be actually a college that they might feel more connection to because it's in their home state or it's closer to the communities and all that. So
we also, I was gonna say we also honor the tuition waiver.
yeah, so we don't care where they go, we just want them.
Yeah, right.
But if it happens to be here, that's great.
Yeah.
It sounds like the program we've got, the Young Wildcats,
Oh, okay.
where we bring kids from inner cities like Detroit and
Oh, okay.
up for like a 5-day.
Being north
Oh,
is
nice.
what
Yeah.
it is now.
So yeah, so that we definitely are very, very open to doing more.
And I think the driving thing behind all of this is just looking at the statistic of how underrepresented vaccinated are in a lot of fields and a lot of, health and research and all of that. So that's kind of like the driving force of trying to change that or make that those disparities. So, take a little bit of that out. So that's, yeah, we definitely want to do one more work.
And it's not just we just
We're on our way back and get some of these to take home.
We're close. We're like 25 miles from the people. So 27 miles. So we're really close.
We went, yeah, we went straight. No.
Close enough that we can get past the local.
Yeah, right. Not as good, but
Right.
yeah. Honestly, I think people stay in one of the doors. Yeah, on the bad way before you will catch up and gravy on the side. I mean, it is what it is. We'll take it.
Well, and I think that, these opportunities are definitely beneficial for our students. We have a lot of research that our faculty members are doing here that our students are interested in. They just don't necessarily know how to get involved. And so, one of the ways that I'm finding that is a common interest is with the Decolonizing Diet Project. Dr. Martin Reinhardt has really, he was kind of the OG professional that developed that before Sean Sherman was big. And so there are folks that are looking now that Sean Sherman is a big celebrity chef now. We're supposed to have him come and join us for the Build and Broaden Indigenous Food and Agriculture Summit that has been postponed to May. But students are really rallying around food and research in food because it touches on so many different areas, especially with health. And this year, we also have non-Indigenous students that are interested in it too, because they're finding that a decolonized diet is actually better for the mainstream, especially because we have all these food allergies, gluten allergies, dairy allergies, things like that. And so, finding ways for students to get involved in this research that aren't necessarily involved in having to immerse themselves in just coursework where they're actually going out and doing this research is a wonderful opportunity for our students. There's also other areas in the center that focus on these different aspects, but also with the Walking the Path Together program. Stretching out beyond the realm of just Native American studies, going into social work, but still serving our Native communities. And so I really appreciate learning about these opportunities because we can share them with our students and show them that, Native American studies, yes, while it is a great discipline for research, but there's other branches that, this covers. There's other ways that we can get involved in research in different disciplines to be able to serve our communities. So I'm really excited about these opportunities, and I can't wait to bring some of your students onto our campus, but also to send some of our students and getting working in our communities and showing that, hey, this research can be done. The questions that you have, that your students have, they can focus on that, come and get this training, come and do the research, and then bring it back to the communities so that way, that's really a grassroots approach, community-centric. And so this is just wonderful. So very much. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
We did try to submit a project with Marty a couple of cycles ago, and we had to throw it together too quickly, and it just didn't. Well, the whole application at that point didn't score well, so none of it got. But it was about also like traditional activities and how to kind of put those into how exercise, that we don't have to go run a mile to get the exercise that we're like to be seen as physically active. We can go in, if you're going berry picking, if you walk 2 miles, so it was centered around that, and then with food and sovereignty and food sovereignty and stuff. So I'd actually never met him, but we had a project that we were trying to get done, and we had to jam it in and try to throw it in there quick, and it just didn't and none of it scored well at that point, but
That was super-
ours didn't either. So it's not like it was just.
With the food, the sovereignty stuff, we have a super mentor and with Cora and Susan Marie, and they're doing the fish study.
Oh yeah.
And so they probably could work here, but
Yeah.
still be connected
Yeah,
uh, with a mentor there with Cora, and that's, you know, Chippewa, Ottawa.
Yeah.
Authority, and that study's been going on for many years, and they looked at mercury fish from the Great here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely an ongoing many-year project that's going on. We've had some interest go through it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. I'm excited and make it happen.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Thank
been
you.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Not everybody can sit here. I know I have to take a break.
We annoy each other all the time.
A lot of information being passed up, like
Yeah.
Amber said. You know, good opportunity for a student to make some money while going through the courses. And,
Right.
you know, I have never heard of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been here since
Yeah.
2000, you know. I mean,
So that's the difference. So we have mailing lists and we send information all the time, but it's just not the same that when you sit down and okay, that's what, you know, and like you said, you can see people are passionate about things and or similar things. And it's just, you know, mailings are mailing.
This is stuff I wish I had, you know, when I was in school. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of us get into the field that we end up going into is it's something that we wish we could have had when we were younger. You know, it's like that saying, be the person you needed when you were, when you were younger and stuff like that. So it's like, you strive, and coming from teaching sex ed to now being in a field that we're dedicated to getting students involved in college. It's like, yeah, man, I wish I would have been able to go right into college and not be almost 30 and finishing, where I was at. But it's like, that's your life journey. That's what ends up happening. I could change that a little bit with somebody else. Like, we're doing good. Somebody somewhere is going to be happy. So.
No, I think this is a great opportunity, and you are absolutely right. We always end up turning into what we wish we had, right? So there's a few students out there that I feel would be great candidates for this program already.
Great.
And so my question to you is, as far as mentors, how do you go about being a mentor? How do you go about finding mentors? If a mentor is not available to a student, I'm not offering myself. I'm talking about my own project.
So, like, for instance, with Dr. I spoke with him, and we already were lined up to have an intern. So he would be already cleared, basically, to do whatever, and we would be fine. If it's somebody completely new, we probably, depending on the subject, our friend might have us do a background check or something like that, depending on the subject of the study. But it's really more just talking with them and getting to know them and knowing what the requirements are, which is, for a mentor, is not a ton. It's just kind of keeping, knowledge of what their student is doing, their intern is doing, and communicate with us at the beginning, middle, and end of the whole process, and be a resource if needed. But it's really, we don't try to add a burden to people that are already busy. So we just kind of want to integrate with what they're already doing.
And we've also had like a co-mentor kind of thing too, where there might be somebody who's more on the research side of it, or like that actual in the lab type thing, but also then somebody who's more I guess coaching would be the word, so like they have kind of like two people that are kind of sharing that responsibility of making sure that the student's doing stuff. So it's not like they don't have to carry that whole load. And so, we've had that happen too, where it's somebody, like say for instance, if Marty had to, was loaded up with people and you said, okay, well, if I help you, can we, I'm just, making this up, but that there's some way to kind of keep that student busy, still have that contact and that mentor figure there, then we've done that too. So But yeah, usually if someone comes in without a mentor, I just then reach out to people I know. Like I'll say, hey, the students, well, these guys would be doing it, but I mean, I've done all this too, but I would, like, oh, I know, JP Leary at UW Green Bay, and say, hey, and we've done it. We have a student who's interested in X, Y, Z. Do you know, who might be doing some research or, native faculty or something that can kind of step in and would be interested in helping. And so that's kind of like just using the context that we have and reaching out and figuring out who we can tap into. And, would you be willing to do this for this person, even though it's not necessarily something that you're deeply interested in, but at least knowing how to give them guidance. And we've had groups with students that were like cohorts of like 3 or 4 students who are all working on a project, like for example, the Green Bay with the Native Spaces project that they did. It ended up in a video that they used for orientation. So, they all work together. We even bought them books on certain things, like it was almost like a mini class because we had our Native faculty, and then had these students working on it together. Also at Milwaukee, Meg Noden had a group that she worked with. Similar situation where it's like a common goal, but they all have their parts and that they're kind of working on and moving together. So,
We find that a lot of mentors are repeat mentors.
oh
They
yeah,
do it once, they do it
yeah.
more, and then they want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have multiple students in 1 year. Sometimes they'll take a break for a couple years and they'll come back. And, oh, now I have 5 students.
And this year we found there's like we have that COVID fatigue with mentors and students. They're just like, we need to stop and take a break because they're just kind of tapped out. And so this is the first year we've had lower numbers in interns, but I think it's just everyone needed that like deep breath and kind of just chill and kind of get back in the swing of things because, kind of recharging batteries. So.
We've also had where it's a bigger study that's going on for a while. And it might not be the main professor, but it could be the professor's assistant or somebody like that. That ends up being the mentor. Or like Amy said, there's a co-mentor or things like that. So there's really a lot of opportunity to have somebody be a mentor.
Yeah.
We'll it's just us getting to know them a little bit and knowing that they're gonna mentor because we don't ask a lot of them. It's just that they are there to help out. That the students are getting what they want to get out of the program. So it's not just like they're cleaning the lab.
Right, and we have agreements that we have with them too that like, for instance, we don't want our students in there filing papers for you 8 hours a day or, answering your phone or picking up your dry cleaning or whatever it is. It's not your assistant. This is a research student.
Moving
So-
from menial work to meaningful work.
Right. And that's the thing is that, we don't want, it happened. So that's why, in the early years of what we were doing, we'd have students like, I've been sitting here answering the phone or I've been, and so we've had to correct that. And that's why, we have them do just an list of expectations and guidelines that we ask. And it's not huge, but it's just saying that here's what we expect. We expect that our students are going to be doing meaningful work. And
that's why we do the abstract where we say what the typical week is going to look like and what is the intern going to be doing, how are they going to be working.
My course will follow, then please get up to the call and exactly
That's the way it should be.
Exactly.
And we've had to step in some other things where like inappropriateness and then like talking about, it just sometimes it was like, what are you doing? So we've had to step in that role and be like, this is done, or, like you're not the mentor anymore. And so we've had to kind of be that voice for, again, a student who feels like they might be intimidated or, and the policies that we do have are based mostly on things that have happened that we've had to respond to and adjust because, whether it's just sometimes like if it's a non-native mentor, not understanding, not having any kind of being culturally ignorant and making some comments or, like had to do some slap downs and some, putting people in their right place. And yeah, so it's, we take that seriously. And we don't allow any kind of, the list of letters behind your name mean nothing to me when it comes to what you said to this kid over here who is intimidated by you. And so, yeah, so we've had those conversations.
Well, that's good. That's good that you
Yeah.
all offer that support, because I know,
Mhm.
especially in research, like researchers, whether it's intended or unintended, can be really, really tough on the
Oh, yeah.
research assistants. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
it's good that you all offer that third party protection, mediation kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
because that is just so, that those experiences can really drive students away from
Oh,
doing
for sure.
research.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's even instances where we find out some stuff after. Why did you
Right.
why didn't you tell me that, they did this or they said this or whatever? And well, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm like, it is a big deal. Like, don't, and we even tell when we do orientation, like, if something happens or something is said, let us know. Like, we're not under any agreement with them that like, we're not, under their auspices. We are our own, and that's why I like functioning the way we do, is because we're part of Great Lakes, so we don't have to call to anybody. We don't have to say, oh well, that's the whatever of whatever, and we have to do what they say. No, and that's in the other NARCHs in the country, they're all associated with a specific university, and that's why I kind of love our independence, that we're not to any one university, so that we can do these things and work with people and pull people if we need to, and not offend. Well, I don't care if offend, but
Sorry, not sorry.
I don't care if you're offended. That's fine. But yeah, so we aren't like, oh, you can't make them mad. We can't whatever. So it's nice to have that kind of an independent ability to not have to kiss the butts of a dean or associate dean or whatever it is. So,
But I think it's gone long enough, right, that we kind of try to foresee those things before.
oh
they
yeah,
happen.
yeah, and that's why there's
Yeah, so-
things are laid out like they are. It's because we were a model. Our NARCH was a model for a lot of other NARCHs, because they were focused heavily on like the research and faculty. Where the student component parts were always there. It's just that they weren't as much of a focus. So when we came up with the 10-day thing, we came up with internships. Those were encouraged, but they never really done that closely. So then other NARCHs are like, oh, that's a good idea. And so we even gave them like, here's our schedule for this. Here's how we do this, so that, and still, if you can look on the NIH site and they have things for NARCH, like the different NARCHs and what they do. They're still very heavily faculty.
Yeah.
And we're one of the few ones that do as much as we do for students. So I think that's something that's probably why, because we can go all over and we can do students and work all over the place without having to feel like they're
Partner with a lot of different.
yeah. So it's just hard because we always feel like we're not doing enough. At least I do all the time. I'm like, gosh, we need to, we need like 5 more people so we can go out and and do stuff. So but yeah. So anyway, yeah.
So my last question, and I'll be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is for the students that aren't able to join us today, and also for our students that are here with us today, what are some things that students should keep in mind while applying for your program? What should they be doing to gear up to prepare to come into NARCH and say, okay, this is my research, this is what I want to do. How can you help me?
Well, I would say that don't be afraid to say no, or to stand up for what, if they're really strongly feeling something. We really want to listen and consider what sometimes it just doesn't work out, and we have to be a little like they be flexible too, but not afraid to voice their opinions or where they want to go with their work or their study or their research. Allow us to be flexible, allow them to be flexible, and just you know, be able to communicate with us, that we're not, you know, this overarching, like, you know, trying to be in control, that we're, let us be the resources that we want to be. It's been my thing, just to know that we're here for them to succeed, and not that we're trying to get something out of it, because this is what we do. It's not like we're trying to get a paper out of them and we can say, hey, look at the paper we have. You know, of course, we share those things when they happen, but it's not for us to claim. Our success is that they've done a paper, you know, so we're not trying to like come off of their work. We're just going to do the work.
I would also say that being prepared for the responsibilities that come with it, and not just during your 400 hours, but the responsibilities that come out of it. Because if your passion is showing through your research project, that's going to light a fire for other people who have witnessed your research, heard your research, read your research, and be ready for that outreach to come to you for people who want more out of you for that. So if you don't feel like you can dedicate that or do something, I would maybe hold off a little bit, but be ready for that, because as soon as people see their native counterparts doing those types of good work, they want that good work in their communities. They want that good work to be shown. So be ready for that to take place and embrace it, honestly, and know that, you know, we're emails, phone calls, you know, whatever it is, we're ready to answer them. And if, you know, like I said 100 times today, if we can't answer them, we're going to find you somebody that can. So.
One thing I would say too is that, you know, it would be great if like the first research you do is the greatest life-changing thing, but don't be afraid of trying something else that's already there, because it's 400 hours. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. And so it can give you an exposure to actually doing some research, even if it's not your main, you know, preference or whatever, but you can get exposed to, and maybe, oh, I didn't know about this. And then it's something that changes your path, or maybe not, but it's at least it's a first exposure to research. And if there's something available and somebody that's willing to mentor you, I believe that you can learn from anybody. So don't think that if it's not your life goal research that you want to do, that you should be afraid of not doing it. I think we say, you know, it's nothing wrong with flipping burgers, but doing research is, you know, better in the summer than, you know, even if it's not your ultimate research. But this is a path to get you, you know, so that's another advice.
It's the fear of coming out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Just be open.
Be open to the new experience. Yeah.
But I definitely wish I would have had an opportunity like this when I was a student, because I don't think I seriously started looking at research until just a couple of years ago when I started my first project, and that was my first professional position. So, you know, being able to get your feet wet as a student and finding ways of, I mean, yes, you can work for, you know, any institution, but being able to do your own research, to be able to serve your own communities is so important. So I just want to say thank you again for offering this awesome opportunity for our students and for them to be able to get out there and do the research in their communities. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
All this time you gave us. You gave us a lot of time. It's very appreciated.
Did we get you out of something you don't want to do?
Yeah. You want to linger for a while?
We're thinking about that thing. As I say that, the speakers microphone.
Right.
I didn't mean it, I swear.
I'm gonna stop this recording now.
Yeah.
Being recorded.
Oh, wow.